Have you ever noticed how some people seem to control a room without saying a word? They don't raise their voice. They don't explain themselves. They just withdraw. And suddenly, everything changes. The energy shifts. People lean in. They wonder. They chase. This isn't magic. It's psychology. It's the quiet strength of becoming unavailable. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. Imagine if you did the same. What if you stopped reacting to everything instantly? What if, instead of defending, you observed? Instead of pleasing, you paused? What would happen? Let me tell you. The world around you would start to unravel, not because you're doing something wrong, but because people are used to managing you through your reactions, your habits, your predictability. The moment you withdraw, the game changes. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." So ask yourself this: when you step back, who gets anxious? Who gets irritated? Who tries to poke you just to get you to react? That response, it reveals more about them than about you. And it reveals how much of your life is still being controlled without you realizing it. You keep giving to keep peace, to not lose people who deep down were never really with you to begin with every forced yes, every automatic reply, every emotional reaction. You're spending energy. And at the end of the day, what's left? Fatigue, frustration, that hollow feeling you can't quite name. Let me tell you why. Because you are too available to people who don't even deserve a minute of your silence. This message isn't about turning your back on the world. It's about turning toward yourself. This is about what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, authentic, integrated. It begins the moment you understand. That silence can be more powerful than 1,000 arguments. And that withdrawal, when it comes from awareness, not fear, is not weakness. It is power. So let me ask you, how long will you let your emotions be someone else's remote control? How long will you jump every time someone pushes your wounds? Maybe it's time to cut those strings, to become a mystery, to stop being so easy to access. Because when you stop being available, everything changes. Since childhood, you've been taught, be polite, be helpful, say yes, even when it hurts. But what if I told you, excessive availability is not compassion, it's self-neglect, and what seems like virtue might actually be a prison. You think being there for everyone will make someone be there for you, but it doesn't work that way. People begin to use your predictability. They treat you like an emotional vending machine. Press a button, get validation. Push a little, get your attention. And then they move on. Not because they're cruel, but because you trained them. You trained them to expect your energy on demand. And now, you feel invisible. Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted, to be liked. You've been living behind that mask, saying, "I'm fine," when you're crumbling, responding to messages while running on empty, explaining yourself to people who never listen. Here's the truth. The more you perform for others, the more you disappear from yourself. This is self-abandonment, and it's time to stop. Your energy is not infinite. Your peace is not disposable. So now, observe. What makes you lose your center? What makes you feel small? What makes you act from fear instead of alignment? This is where your energy leaks out, and this is where the work begins. True power isn't in reacting. It's in choosing when to act and when not to. Because psychic energy, as Jung described it, is your most precious currency. And when you use it on meaningless arguments, pointless validations, or toxic approval seeking, you run empty, fast. The people who sense your exhaustion know exactly where to press. And if you don't guard your energy, they will use it. Not necessarily out of malice, but because they can. When you finally stop reacting, you become unpredictable. And when you become unpredictable, you stop being a tool. That's when people say you've changed, that you're distant. But that's not the truth. You've just become unavailable for manipulation. Let me be clear. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean retreat. Silence can mean strength. It can mean sovereignty. And the ones who depended on your chaos will feel disturbed by your calm. They'll say you're cold, arrogant, selfish, because your absence is forcing them to face themselves. But here's the paradox. The more you are unavailable to the world, the more you become available to your soul. In solitude, you begin to see, where once there was confusion, there is clarity. Where once there was noise, there is calm. Where once there was fear, there is space. And in that space, you rebuild. You become whole. Jung said that individuation requires you to walk alone for a while, not in bitterness, but in truth. You are not fleeing the world. You are returning to yourself, and not everyone will follow you there. Some only loved the role you played. But when you stop playing, you stop performing and start living. You become rare. And what is rare is respected. So if you've made it this far, hear this. You are not too much. You are just no longer available for too little. That is where your power begins. If these thoughts feel true to you, subscribe for more explorations.